A speed run is when you beat a game as fast as possible. The previous world record was 50 minutes and 7 seconds by Narfman0, but recently the game was beaten in under 50 minutes. But this was not without some difficulties at the end.
You're banned forever, Danny boy, you're banned forever.
How was this game beaten so quickly? Let's take a look. What's going on? It's Pojer, coming at you with another video. Check out our Discord server, discord.pojer.net. I didn't think it would happen anytime soon, but let's check out Mitch's new Super Mario Bros. 3 run. For those who may be out of the loop, a speed run is when you beat a game as fast as possible. Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of the hardest games to speed run because of the RNG. There are things that are out of the player's control that could ruin your run. In World 8, there's 3 levels that the game will sometimes force you to play. This happens completely at random and there's no way to manipulate it. I've seen runners that were at world record pace but lost it because one of the hands pulled them in. But there's another new strategy that has held many players back: early hammer manipulation. This is a trick in World 2 where you can obtain the hammer item ahead of time so that you can skip 3 levels. However, this requires one of the Hammer brothers to move from the right side of the level all the way to the middle. For those who don't know, every time you complete a stage, the Hammer brother will move in a particular direction, either up, down, left, or right. Which direction he moves depends on what frame you complete a stage. Early in the game's existence, it didn't seem possible to know what frame you complete a stage on, but the speedrunning community would find a creative way of keeping track of this. Initially, runners were getting their early hammer by having a video of a tool-assisted run open while they played so that they could match the inputs from that. This will increase your chances of getting the right frames when you complete a stage. But recently, Narfman created a program that makes it easier to get the correct frames for early hammer. Instead of having a tool-assisted run open, the program will play a sound cue which will help you get the correct frames. This program is more automatic instead of before where you had to have a video playing at the same time. The program is very technical, and MitchFlowerPower made a tutorial on how to get it set up. In order to have a shot at the world record, early hammer manipulation is required, but there is some controversy surrounding it. Some speedrunners have spoken out against it, and some even suggested that it should be under a different category instead of the any % warpless. It is understandable why. You are using outside tools to make early hammer possible, so in theory, you could call this a tool-assisted speedrun, right? Nonetheless, it is the current way to get the lowest time possible in the warpless category. In April of 2024, Narfman secured the world record in the warpless category, 50 minutes and 7 seconds. I broke down this run in great detail in a previous video. The record remained unbeaten for an entire year. Keep in mind, there's at least 4 or 5 runners of this game who stream daily but have not been able to beat Narfman's time. But this would all change 2 weeks ago. On April 15th, MitchFlowerPower not only took back his world record, but was the first person to achieve under 50 minutes, 49 minutes and 51 seconds. This was a phenomenal run, and I happened to watch the tail end of it live. Because of how long Narfman's run remained unbeaten, I figured we had at least a year before Mitch's record will be beaten. But in a shocking twist, the runner Kudo1K beat his run 2 days later by only 1 second. Kudo is a legendary runner that not only holds the world record in warpless now, but also holds the any % and any % no wrong warp records. I'm not surprised he managed to secure the world record, but I feel bad Mitch only had his record for 2 days. I'm sure he doesn't mind though. Out of respect for both Mitch and Kudo, we're going to look at both runs. Let's start off with World 1. This is actually a complicated part of the run because levels 1-1 and 1-5 have lag that need to be prevented. In 1-1, there's 3 Koopas that will cause the frame rate to drop under 60 seconds. Same with the enemies at the beginning of 1-5. From what I understand, preventing lag will increase your chances of getting the early hammer. In Narfman's run, he used an old technique of preventing lag, but a new method was found that saves time. In 1-1, both Kudo and Mitch hit the first and third Koopas and skip over the second one, unlike before where you jump on the first 2 and then skip the third. In 1-5, the old trick was to grab one of the shells and throw it off screen. The new method requires you to wait a second and then slide down. Both of these methods only save a few seconds, but considering how close the world record is to under 50 minutes, every second counts. The rest of World 1 is pretty straightforward. World 2 is the most complex in the game because of how difficult it is to get early hammer, and as a result, many runs end here. The first 3 stages have to be completed at the correct frame, which means you have to wait around for a second at the end. Even if you're just slightly off, the Hammer Brothers will not move where you want them to, and then you have to reset. Both Kudo and Mitch get the timing right and pull off the early hammer manipulation. Like I mentioned before, the idea is that you want the hammer item early so that you can break the hammer block in the overworld map, and therefore skip 3 stages. It's worth mentioning that you want to fight as few Hammer Brothers as possible to save time, which is why Kudo and Mitch don't fight the second Hammer Brother. After this point, World 2 is very straightforward and they don't have to worry about frames or manipulation for the rest of the run. The worst is over. World 3 has a mechanic where the bridges open and close every other turn. To ensure you don't get blocked off later in the world, you have to fight both Hammer Brothers. One of them has an item you need, and the other one will give you an extra turn so that the bridge will be open. But if one of the Hammer Brothers runs off screen to a place where you can't fight him, the bridge will be closed, and therefore the run is over. This will be important for later. 3-2 is hard to speedrun because there's very few platforms and a lot of water below. The intended route is to ride the moving platforms to the end, but it is possible to get P-speed and skip having to use a platform. Kudo and Mitch are able to pull this off without falling into the water. In the fortress, it's possible to save a few seconds by entering the third door and doing a frame-perfect input into the boss fight, but this is very difficult to do. Both Mitch and Kudo forego this trick and complete the level the intended way. 3-6 is an auto-scroller which we want to avoid. The problem with auto-scrollers is that you have to wait for the screen to move, which takes too much time. We want to skip these levels whenever possible. Thankfully, Kudo and Mitch have the cloud item which let you skip levels. The bridge is also open, which means they can move straight to 3-8. The rest of World 3 is straightforward. 4-1 is tougher to speedrun. The level is so odd-shaped, it seems impossible to get P-speed. There's also a lot of bottomless pits at the end that you have to be careful of. Both players manage to get P-speed in the middle of the level and then complete it with ease. The first fortress is straightforward, but there's a thwomp at the end that you have to squeeze by. Look at how tight that is. Keep in mind, you want to stay as Fire Mario as much as possible for the faster boss kills. There's 3 Hammer Brothers in this world, but you only need to fight the one that has a cloud item. You want to grab as many cloud items as possible so that you can skip the auto-scrollers. The rest of the Hammer Brothers are skipped with the music box item. At the end of the world, there's an airship level you have to complete, and then you fight a Koopaling boss. The boss must be completed with fireballs, but it's very difficult because of their unpredictable movement pattern. Mitch is able to kill the World 4 boss without any issues, but Kudo gets unlucky with the boss's movement pattern and loses time. And that concludes World 4. There's a lot to talk about in World 5. When Narfman did 5-1, he completed the level on foot with Fire Mario, but Mitch and Kudo used the P-Wing to get to the secret exit. This is faster than completing the level normally, but at the cost of a P-Wing item. In 5-2, there's normally 2 routes you can take. You can either fall to the bottom and complete the level normally, or land on one of the platforms and move to the top. The top section is quicker, but the platforms leading up there are too small and easy to miss. Mitch is able to maneuver through this section easily, but Kudo does an accidental wall jump which causes him to mess up. Thankfully, he's still able to make it to the top section. Mitch and Kudo make minor mistakes in the World 5 tower. Mitch misses his jump to the pipe on 2 occasions, while Kudo misses jump on 1. In addition, Kudo messes up while climbing the vines. The pipes are an awkward location, so I don't blame them. These are all extremely minor mistakes, but they do make a difference for world record pace. In the last fortress level, there's a clip at the beginning called the Jesus clip. I'm not sure where the name came from. It saves some time, but it's very difficult to pull off. If you miss, you immediately die. Neither Mitch or Kudo try it and instead complete the level the normal way. I don't blame them for this. In 5-8, Kudo was able to get P-speed on the first set of clouds and complete the level a bit quicker. Mitch doesn't get P-speed until the second cloud. Not a huge time loss, but worth mentioning. 5-9 is an auto-scroller, which means we don't want to do it. Once again, the cloud item is used. Kudo nearly pulls off a task-only trick on the boss. Normally when you complete the boss, it's better to grab the wand at the bottom of the screen because the ending cutscene will be quicker. But if you wall jump and grab the wand while partially off screen, the cutscene will be even faster. Kudo does get the wall jump, but unfortunately misses the timing, and as a result, doesn't get the fast cutscene. With that said, World 5 is over. World 6 is risky because you play a portion of it as Small Mario, which means one hit and you're dead. In the first fortress, you have to lose Big Mario on purpose so that you can bypass the spikes. At the end, there's a star you can collect, and there's just barely enough time to kill the boss with it. If it wasn't for the star, it would be better to keep Fire Mario. 6-4 is complicated because the platforms are narrow and there's a lot of bottomless pits. It is very difficult to get P-speed here. With near perfect precision, it's possible, and Mitch manages to pull it off. Kudo, on the other hand, isn't able to get it until near the end of the level. This results in a small time loss. Unfortunately for Mitch, he's forced to fight the Hammer Brothers as Small Mario. He takes a risk and actually kills one on the head. Good job, I know I wouldn't have tried that. Kudo runs into the Hammer Brothers as Small Mario too, but he plays it safe and waits for him to jump above. 6-5 is that annoying level where you have to get P-speed and then bring a shell up to the top. Mitch and Kudo use the P-wing and they pull off a cool trick where you can despawn one of the enemies up top. This way you don't need to bring up a shell. The second fortress is harder than it looks. You're supposed to go the lower route with Raccoon Mario, which saves time, but you have to be near perfect. Even if you're a little bit off, you won't make it. Mitch and Kudo make it look easy though. At the boss, they purposely lose Raccoon Mario. In general, outside of flight, Raccoon Mario was not recommended because of the weird physics. In 6-9, the traditional way of playing the level is by going down the pipe and entering a water level. You can also use a P-wing to skip over the level, which was intended by the developers. What was not intended though is that you can perform a wall jump to reach the secret area as well. Despite this being very challenging, both Kudo and Mitch are able to pull it off on the first try. It's worth mentioning that the speedrunner Maiba does 6-8 instead of 6-9 so that he can obtain Fire Mario. This level is definitely slower, but having Fire Mario does allow you to get a faster kill in the Koopaling. On the airship, there's one mushroom you can obtain. You have to be very careful because if you lose it while fighting the boss, you have to reset the game because you need the mushroom for 7-1. Normally in 7-1, you play a vertically scrolling level where you enter pipes, but there's a small wall clip that lets you skip the entire stage. It is tricky to pull off, but both Mitch and Kudo get it on the first try. The trick is not possible with Small Mario, which is why they needed to keep that mushroom. 7-2 is very difficult because of this large gap. The intended way is to hit the music box from below, then swim to the bottom of the level, and then make your way back up. Now you're able to complete the gap, but this obviously wastes a lot of time. Mitch and Kudo grab Fire Mario and then take damage on purpose so that they can obtain P-speed. This lets them clear the gap without using the music blocks. 7-4 is an auto-scroller that takes a lot of time, so you know what that means. Time to use a cloud item. The intended way to complete the first fortress is to hit the P block, and then go to the door and collect the Tanuki suit. From here, you must fly to the pipe above, and then you can fight the boss. This obviously takes too much time, so the faster way is to use a P-wing. 7-5 is another vertically scrolling level where you ride these blocks. You're spending most of the time waiting around, but thankfully you can skip the level with a wall clip. This is not an easy clip to get because of the awkward position, and I've seen a few runs end here. Narfman played it safe in this run and used a P-wing to skip the level. Mitch and Kudo missed the first attempt, but they get the clip on the second try. Here we have a choice between 7-7 and 7-8. 7-7 can be skipped with a wall clip, but it's very difficult to pull off and not worth it unless you get on your first try. Mitch and Kudo choose to do 7-8 instead. Mitch is able to grab Hammer Mario while keeping P-speed, but Kudo makes a small mistake and loses it. Narfman didn't get the Hammer suit in his run at all, and as a result loses some time. It's slightly faster to grab Hammer Mario because you can get a fast kill on Bowser at the end. 7-9 is a very frustrating level because you have to perform multiple wall clips. Mitch fails to get the first clip, but does succeed the next 2 times. He chooses to complete the remainder of the level the intended way, which is a small time loss, but I understand because he missed the first wall clip. Kudo tries to go the faster route, but he misses numerous wall clips in the process. The remainder of World 7 is pretty straightforward. The first 2 levels of World 8 are auto-scrollers, and there's no way to skip them, so you get a nice little break from the intense speedrunning action. Now we're at the RNG section. Like I mentioned before, sometimes the game will force you to play these levels. If you get pulled in, the run is over. As a matter of fact, Maiba, who we mentioned before, had a speed run at world record pace a few days ago, but lost it because he got pulled into one of these levels. He still got 50 minutes and 3 seconds though, which beat Narfman's time. That's very impressive considering he had to do that extra level. Fortunately, both Mitch and Kudo get lucky and don't get any hands. This is where things become serious. Mitch is normally charismatic when he streams, but at this point in the run, he remained silent and didn't respond to the chat so that he could focus on the run, which is understandable. Despite the nerves, both players are able to clear 8-1 and 8-2 without any issues. The Fortress level is skipped because while it's not an auto-scroller, it's a longer level where you have to wait under spikes and then fight a boss. At this point, both runs are pretty even. Both players made very minor mistakes throughout the run, but are still very solid. Kudo knew this run was very close to Mitch's world record, but wasn't sure if he would beat it. He pulls off a very risky wall clip and actually gets it. Mitch runs into one last hurdle, and it's not from the game.
You're banned forever, Danny boy. You're banned forever.
Despite the heckling, Mitch keeps his composure and manages to become the first player to get under 50 minutes. His reaction says it all.
Yes! Oh my god! Oh my god! I can't. Oh my god!
The myth.
Kudo, who beat his world record 2 days later, had a funny reaction.
I'm so sorry, Mitch. I'm so sorry, Mitch. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, dude.
It's wild that Narfman's record remained for an entire year, but Mitch's was beaten in only 2 days. That's speedrunning for you. So what did Mitch and Kudo do that Narfman did not? The new runs have better early hammer manipulation that result in time saves. Mitch and Kudo also go for the hammer suit, which is faster than using Fire Mario. There might be more things that I missed. In fact, let me know in the comments if there is anything I missed. One last comment I'll make, had Kudo not went for that wall clip on the last stage, he probably would not have gotten the world record. Hey, I just wanted to thank you so much for watching this video. If you made it this far, hit that like button. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the subscribe button for more content. Both of these things really help the channel grow. If you have anything to share, feel free to leave a comment. I read every single comment on this channel, and I'm pretty good at replying back. Anyway, have a good one.